Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Cliff Jones. I'd like to welcome you back to Cliff's Corner. It's a segment on my channel where I just talk about whatever's on my heart and in my mind because I'm bigger than just a piano player, a pianist. Sorry, I'm bigger than just a classical pianist. I'm bigger than just a business owner. I like sports. I like talking about music. I like talking about rap stuff. I like talking about basketball, boxing. I like to talk about uplifting things, and this is why I created Cliff's Corner. So let's just jump into it. So this episode, we're going to be talking about the importance of believing in oneself. How, and why is it important for you to believe in yourself? Let's just jump into it. I learned rather a long time ago with having the great words of advice coming from my grandmother, from family members and different things like that, and even friends, the importance of believing in oneself. If you don't believe in yourself, you can't get anything done in this life. You know, even at those times when things are challenging and it may seem like you cannot get from point A to point B, you have no choice but to believe in yourself. You have no choice but to continue and push through, because if you don't, you are going to fall by the wayside. And one of the challenging things to understand, especially as an adult, is that nobody's coming to save you. Yes, you may have a great support system. God bless you if you have a great support system. That's not something that you should take for granted. But at the end of the day, it's you versus you. Ain't no competition. You know what I'm saying? So if you are not taking the necessary steps to believe in yourself, to put your best foot forward and present to the world whatever you're doing or whatever you have got going on, you're gonna forever be stuck. And a perfect analogy that I thought of, like when this is like maybe 5 years ago. 5 years ago, when I wrote my first book called the 88 Kip Academy, something about 88 keys of intellectual property, 88 keys to better yourself, different things like that. Really dope book. Um, when I wrote that book at that time, I was thinking of, what if this is Cliff 60, 70 years from now? So now I'm 90 years old, or whatever the case may be at that time. I'll be 70 years from then. It would have been me actually older than 90, like almost 100. What if in those I'm on my deathbed and the life clock starts hitting 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, and my life is flashing before my eyes, and there is so much regret. There's like there's so much regret that I didn't do the things that I wanted to do, right? I don't want that. I was like, yo, Cliff, I would never want that. So I had no choice 5 years ago to start believing in myself and start my own business. And 5 years later, it's not, bringing in a whole entire $1 million a year yet, but I'm doing okay. Could be doing a lot better for sure. But I took the most important thing is that I took the first step of believing in myself. I took that first leap of faith, and it came about at a time when I was severely depressed after a breakup the previous year of September 21st, 2019. I would say that September 21st, 2019 is the start of me being reborn and starting the process of believing in myself. And it was the greatest thing that ever happened, that breakup, right? So I was severely depressed, but I knew something had to shake. So January of 2020, I officially started my business, and 18 days later, I got my first client teaching piano to a student in New York City, on the east side, Lower East Side, on 101st Street, whatever. And I look back now. If I didn't take that leap of faith, who knows where I would have been right now? Would I even still be here? Because when I was depressed like that, I did not want to be here. I didn't have no suicide attempts, of course not, but I did not want to be here because the pain was too much. But that's the importance of number one, believing in yourself and taking that leap of faith and understanding that, yeah, there is something going wrong here, but if I stay stagnant, it's only going to get worse, right? I'm going to continue to spiral. I'm going to continue to go further and further into the rabbit hole that if I don't catch myself, I'm going to be so far down it that it's going to be damn near impossible to climb out of. Right? So that's the importance of believing yourself. The importance of believing in yourself. Another thing is this, like me as a basketball player, right? I'm not no Kobe Bryant, even though he's my favorite player, and I talk a lot of trash and things like that. Um, but the thing is that, like, I may not be the best basketball player, but what I've learned about myself, um, playing ball, is that I had I had to, and I have to do a better job of believing in myself, because there've been so many times, like last summer or previous summer, where I didn't leave it all on the floor. Yes, I'm older, so I'm not able to do a lot of the different things I used to do. Um, and I'm not working out as much as I used to. So yes, my game is not the best. It's not what it used to be. And all of that affects the confidence, right? When you don't do the work, your confidence is affected. But as I was playing last summer, the things were starting to come back. But still, there was some type of hesitations, because now I'm playing against younger dudes and whatnot, and you know how like that is, where they think they know everything, or they see you as this older cat, or you're not as good as you used to be, so they don't want to share the ball with you and things like that. And that really fucked with my confidence, right? But it wasn't until towards the end of the summer, the last few games of me playing, that I was like, you know what, fuck this shit. I'm gonna go out there to play the best I can, look to score, be aggressive, and I did pretty well, right? And that's all from believing in myself, right? It's all for me taking that leap of faith to um and believe in myself. And that's why, like, when we start playing ball again this summer, I'm gonna come out aggressively, not to hurt myself, of course, because I got bum ass a slight case of arthritis in this right knee, but like my body is much better than was last summer. But that's besides the point. I'm coming out swinging, because I don't want to have regrets, and that's the thing that I'm realizing more and more about my life. I don't want regrets. I don't want to be like, damn, I really wish I could have. I don't want. I really wish that I had taken that leap of faith and done this, or I really wish that I had put my best foot forward and do this, because then there's gonna be that day where it's too late, and not on my deathbed, which I pray is, I'm 37. I'll pray that's 60 years from now, 70 years from now, But even before then, when I don't have the same energies, when I don't have the same type of, like, you know, time or energy to do these things that I want to accomplish, that I'm striving for, I don't want that to happen, you know. So that's why, like, now that I'm younger, I'm 37 years old, that's why I'm going hard to make sure I do the things that I want to do, to make sure I build the business so that I can live the life that I want to live, with my girlfriend and future, if children's involved and things like that, and generational stuff like that. I want to be the tide. I want to be the change that changes the tide of, financial wealth and stability, different things like that. I don't need to go into that type of tangent, right? But I know the life that I want to live. And it first starts off with an inner belief, an unshakable belief in self. But here's the thing that comes with having an unshakable belief in yourself. There's going to be those times when you are not going to necessarily be the happiest. Like, you're going to have those moments where you struggle. You're going to have those moments where it's going to be like, damn, bro, I really am, like, let me mute this. I really am here not feeling good. That happened to me yesterday, and this happened to me earlier in this whole week, this last week as well, this month of May. It's been tough for me emotionally and mentally. But the thing is that despite everything I'm going through, me missing my granny who passed back in February, uh, certain financial stuff, whatever the case may be, I still have a belief that I am going to get from point A to point B. And that took years upon years upon years of work, these last few years, therapy, and understanding, and having an understanding that it's never linear. It's never on a straight line. when it comes to developing the importance of believing in yourself. It's jagged as you're going up the mountain, right? Once you understand that and you go through your emotions, there's always going to be a secret knowing that you are going to get from point A to point B. And that's just what it is. There's no other ways to describe it. When you do the work and you're consciously aware of the changes that you need to make when it comes to believing in yourself, even at those lowest of lowest moments, there's still somewhere in the back of your mind like, yo, I'm really going to be okay. Now, to bring religion into it, I'll speak for myself personally. I may not be going to church every single Sunday and things like that, but I have a strong faith in God. And in my personal life, God has shown me multiple times that when you trust the process, when you trust in me, everything is going to be okay. When you speak certain things into existence, they come to fruition. My thing and what I struggle with is being patient. Right? Being patient and sometimes being consistent. Even I should say being even more consistent. And the way that I realized I had to remedy this, and because it is a work in progress, I've gotten better. But the way to remedy it is by seeing that end goal, right? And understanding that it's not going to happen overnight. It's understanding that I have to get comfortable, getting comfortable with delayed gratification. Rome was not built in one day. The greatest of things was not built in one day. So why do I feel like I'm entitled to have what I want tomorrow? There are lessons that have to be learned in order for me to get to that plane that I can now obtain everything that I'm striving for. And it's easy to say this, but like when life is lifing and you got this to worry about and that to worry about, this to worry about, it's very easy to lose sight of what's important. But that's what I'm saying. That's why it's very important to have that underlining knowing, and that comes from your work, the work that you do. It's very important to have that underlining knowing that everything is going to be all right. I am going to reach those goals. I am going to reach those dreams and goals. Right? So it's about the importance of believing in yourself. And now we transfer this to being a pianist. I know I have spoken so many times about myself as a black classical pianist when I first started at 14 years old in 2002. I was 14 turning 15 when I first started playing piano. And there were a lot of people who did not believe in all that stuff. But even though at that time it did affect me in the sense of like I was trying to hide the fact that I play music. I was trying to hide the fact that I do this, I do that. I play classical piano because I'm black, and I knew people wouldn't understand. Even though it did affect me, it helped me to build character in a way. Because once I stepped into my power, couldn't nobody tell me anything about, oh, you're not this, you're not black because you play classical music. None of those things would affect me once I stood into my power, because I understood the end goal of where I'm going to accomplish. And if you are between me and that end goal and you're not giving constructive criticism, if you're not giving words of encouragement, if you're not supporting me in any type of way, any other negativity around me, it did not matter. It didn't matter. Right? So once I understood that perspective, anybody and anyone could say whatever they wanted to me about my journey as a classical pianist. We're ignoring you. And if you did too much, then you're blocked. You're out of my life. Because if I'm on this journey of positivity, why do I need negativity in my life to try to knock me asunder from that right there, that North Star? Right? Makes sense, right? So I implore y'all to do the same. Remove the toxicity out of your life, because those people that are toxic, they're messing with your confidence of believing in yourself so that you can reach whatever goal you're striving to reach. Me believing in myself has helped me in a way as a classical pianist, as a piano teacher, that's helped me to help other students, coach other students. Me developing the COPET method comes from a belief in myself, because the COPET method, composer oriented piano expression and technique method, Lord have mercy, composer oriented piano expression and technique method, thank you, composer oriented piano expression and technique method, me developing that comes from a sense of me believing in myself. It's not your traditional method. If I further explain it, the traditional method when it comes to learning piano, you learn technique, right? While also learning how to read music, learning how to learn theory and all those great things, right? And then you get to a piece that has a specific technique that you're working on, right? And then now you're learning how to work on this technique. You're learning how to interpret it. Yes, you're learning the tools, you're developing your artistry in a sense, but what's lacking is where does your own artistry come from? Not somebody else's artistry that you're trying to guess that's no longer on this earth. Let me further explain. The traditional sense of playing piano, traditional route of playing piano is effective to a certain point because, let's say you have the expertise to play a Chopin ballad number one. Nobody in this world knows how Chopin wanted that piece to be played. Nobody knows exactly how he wanted his music as a catalog to be played. But there's so many different interpretations, right? And it's a beautiful thing because now every billions of pianists who've played these pieces by Chopin or Liszt or whatever the case may be, they're giving their own individual artistry to it. Because music at the end of the day is subjective. But then the issue becomes when somebody who is a quote unquote purist when it comes to classical music, if music is so subjective, why is it being so judged? Right? You didn't play this Chopin ballad the way it should have been played. It's too many dynamics. It's too loud on certain sections. It's this, that, and the third. Now, all of that may be true according to who, though? Right? Now, of course, now I'm not saying that you have to operate outside of the lines and color outside of the lines all of the time. There are certain rules that need to be followed, right? And a lot of things are just common sense when you're looking at certain pieces, particularly Chopin Ballad number one. If you listen to it, it's very touching, it's very emotional. So naturally, certain parts that are supposed to be softer, right, that the composer wrote, pianissimo, or piano, that's what it's supposed to be, right? So what am I getting at? You as a pianist, you're playing these different pieces, which is amazing, right? But are you putting your own artistry into this music? And how are you developing your artistry in this music, right? So many times in the traditional sense, you learn technique first. You build, you stack, especially like if you go to conservatory and different things like that, right? You're stacking this technique for a minute, right? Matter of fact, put aside conservatory. Let's say you're a student and you're learning piano. You're stacking to work on this technique, while learning, of course, all the nuances of theory and things like that, right? But then, you're developing this technique to play these pieces, but where does your own artistry come from, right? I know I said this twice. Why not, instead of doing the traditional sense, as you're learning these type of techniques, why don't you compose with these techniques? Why don't you compose? Why isn't people being taught to compose using these techniques? Well, the question becomes, well, how does one compose? How do you compose music? The composition lives in here and here. Everything that you've been through, ups, downs, left, rights, diagonally across the street, boom, 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 boom. That's what you use these techniques to compose, right? Well, the question becomes, well, how do you compose? What if I don't know how to compose? It's not as big as you think it is. composition, once again, comes from here and here. Your creativity comes from here and here, right? The way you start to compose is through storytelling. You tell your story through your music by using a specific technique, right? So once you're learning how to play music, you're learning about dynamics, you're learning about rubato, you're learning about staccato, legato, you're learning how to play forte, you're learning how to play pianissimo, you're learning scales, arpeggios. All of these different techniques can be used to compose your own story. And when you do this, you're doing two things. You're building your technique while also building your artistry as a musician, as a pianist. And when a pianist develops their artistry on the piano, meaning their touch on the piano, the technique is lifted up even more. There's so many times when you hear pianists play, and again, of course, music is subjective, but there's so many times when you hear pianists play and it sounds empty, it sounds hollow. It doesn't sound like there's substance. It just sounds like, oh, this guy's really talented and he's just playing flashy. Now, there's a time and place to be flashy, but it shouldn't overshadow the artistry. When you have your technique overshadow your artistry, it takes away from who you are as a pianist, as a musician. We should all strive to be the artist, the pianist, not the piano player. Let me explain. The pianist or the artist, the pianist, we'll say pianist versus piano player. We'll start off with the piano player. Piano player is down here. They have all of the technique in the world, can play this, can play that, can play the right? But then when you listen to them, there's no, I can't connect with you. All I hear is the flash and frills of your technique. It's brilliant, brilliancy of the fingers. But who and what are you telling me? How can I connect with you? Versus the pianist, he or she can do everything the piano player can do, but they are able to tap into my emotions here and here.